Welcome to the 6th episode of the Animal Riot Podcast, brought to you by Animal Riot Press, a literary press for books that matter. It's your producer, Katie, here, and this episode has been edited to reflect our new name. If you're new to the Animal Riot community, welcome, and you can find out more about us at animalriotpress.com. Now on to the episode with your host, Brian Birnbaum, and today's guest, Ian Anderson.
Right now we're here with Ian Anderson, co-founder of Mason Jar Press, an indie press out of Baltimore. And just really quick, today's challenge, or this hour's brand of fuckery, is brought to you by the Holiday Hangover. And the challenge is for us to consume these profoundly middling beers, which I'm holding up now. It's cheers. 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 And to do so without once complaining about gluten or hops or the lack of Trappist alchemy. Yeah, okay. So how about we introduce you? Or introduce yourself.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm Ian Anderson. I'm the editor-in-chief of Mason Jar Press, also one of the co-founders along with Mike Tager. We've been going strong now, or going at a steady pace anyways, for 4 years about. The beginning of Mason Jar Press is kind of quasi. Like, I don't know which was the actual beginning of it. We kind of fell into it. So
maybe the first book that came out. Is that maybe
So, yeah. But then there's which one was the first book? Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into the history of Mason Jar Press. Okay.
But I just want to mention before we do that is that Mike doesn't even know what a podcast is. So
yeah, doesn't know. So he won't listen. He won't hear this. We can say whatever we want about him.
So yeah, and he has. So he's basically got an object permanence issue where he's like, we don't exist right now.
Yeah,
we're in some
anything that happens here is none of Mike's concern. He'll never know about it.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mason Jar Press, I went to the University of Baltimore here in Baltimore and graduated in 2014. And as part of that program, you have to self-publish your book. Your final manuscript, your thesis, is a self-published book. So you have to write it, you have to design it, and you have to get it printed or handmade. Some people do handmade books and stuff. Yeah. And I needed a name for the press that I was making up right there for my thesis, which was, just going to be 200 books, and that was it. And I put Mason Jar Press on there. So that's kind of technically the first Mason Jar Press book, but Mason Jar Press was not a thing when I did that. And then a year or so later, Mike wanted to put out a chapbook, and I'm a designer, and he asked me to design it, and it was pop.
This is poetry?
Yeah, this is the pop poems collection. I think is what he called it, the pop culture collection. Okay. I forget what we ended up calling it.
You can't even remember.
No, but it was 3 books, 3 mini chapbooks, poems on Taye Diggs, poems about Patrick Swayze, and poems about the Hoff, David Hasselhoff.
I love it.
Yeah, so
This explains the pop culture segment of your guys' podcast.
Yeah, basically.
Which, is it called Mason Jar Press Podcast or something? Or what?
It's like Mason Jar Press presents.
Okay, cool.
The Pop Bang. I produce it and edit it and all that, so but do not host. So yeah, Mike came to me and wanted me to design those books, so I did. And as I was reading them, first of all, the poems are hilarious. He has a love poem to Taye Diggs where it says, "I love you like I love my wife." And reading it, I was like, in the back of my head, I knew, like, from doing the thesis project for University of Baltimore, I was like, this is doable. I could publish other people's books. Like, there's a pathway where, like, like olden days, like back in the 90s, to be a publisher, you needed a lot of capital and stuff and resources and all that. And in 2018, 2015, it's not the same thing anymore. Just kind of anyone can start a press, for the cost of an Adobe suite.
Yep. Print on demand is a beautiful thing.
Print on demand. So we don't print on demand. We work with a printer, but
you guys just do print runs?
We do print runs, yeah. But we work with, shout out to Spencer Printing in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. They are the coolest.
Oh, we got to check them out. Have we checked them out yet? Yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah, check them out. They're the best. We've been working with them the entire time. They print all of our books. The prices are exceedingly reasonable. It's digitally printed, so it's not like, offset or anything like that. They have those capabilities, but we don't do that because it's just not cost effective to do it. But yeah, like the power to actually start a press now is really, I think people think it's harder than it actually is to start a press.
Yeah.
Running a press is a different story, but if you just want to start it, that's,
scaling it is a different story.
Yeah, scaling's different, but
if you just want to put a book out there,
you can even if you wanted to self-publish, like you can do it. You can print books for $4 a piece and sell them for $15.
That's actually how we started.
Yeah.
I made some like sort of flippant, invidious text to all my friends here. All my friends live back here in Baltimore, except for save like 2 of them. Maybe.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just gonna like. I had my novel in with a couple of presses still, but I was expecting the same old rejection, right?
Yeah.
And I made some comment about that, and then that's how John approached us, John Kay, our third co-founder. And so here we are.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's it. I was going to self-publish it.
Right.
I was threatening to. I was threatening the Cosmos to self-publish my book.
Yeah, and self-publishing gets a bad rap, but I think that's because there's a lot of bad self-published books out there, but that doesn't make self-publishing bad.
Yeah, Gatekeeper is good and bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of shitty books that come out when you let anyone publish a book.
Right.
But at the same time, like, that's what one of my favorite writers, I don't know how many times I'm going to say his name on this podcast. He's going to start thinking I'm stalking him or something. But Sergio De La Pava, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Not as familiar now.
You should. I don't know if you're into the whole maximalist thing, but he's kind of like a modern day Joyce.
Okay.
Like, his first novel was that, like, the Ulysses of kind of the new millennium. You know what I mean? It's called A Naked Singularity. I could not recommend it more. But basically, he self-published it. Well, his wife did. I really have told this story a billion times, but I'm going to tell it again.
I haven't heard it.
He tried to get an agent for 3 years. No one would take it. Too difficult. I'm using air quotes now.
Yeah.
Like, all that shit. Same old crap. And his wife, like, pseudo-secretly self-publishes it, somewhat furtively, I guess.
Yeah.
And it just blows up. And then
crazy.
University of Chicago Press picks it up. I think it sold like 30,000 copies or something.
And that's the thing, right? Like, if you self-publish, that doesn't mean that's the end of the road.
Right.
Like, somebody...
Although they'll tell you that.
They tell you that,
the
but it's
people
not
in the
true.
industry will tell you that, and it's not true. Yeah.
I mean, you can print with a small press and still be picked up by it, because we're doing numbers that do not hurt Random House, right?
Yeah.
Like, I am thrilled how many books we've sold, but, like, I'm sure a middling seller for Simon & Schuster or Penguin outsells us, and they consider it a failure, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the numbers we're doing are not affecting the big 5 or the big... How many are we at now? Because they keep consolidating.
At still 5, they're working on 4.
Yeah.
Like, they are.
It's going to be the big one.
Yeah, at some point.
And Amazon's going to own it.
Yeah, right. That's very true. That makes me think of a question that we spoke about this, I think, on our second episode. And one of my ideas is, like, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I really think that the big 5 or whatever they do kind of consolidate themselves to at some point really should just start being okay with relinquishing literary work, because that's not where they make their money anyway, and they do kind of a shitty job at it. They don't pick like books like A Naked Singularity are a great example, right? Like, this book is clearly on fire.
Yeah.
No one can recognize that, or everyone's too scared to recognize that because it's too difficult.
I think it's the latter. I think they can't figure out how to market that kind of book.
Right.
It's not a...
And I wonder, how did his wife do it? I would love to talk to her more about it. And, like, she's amazing.
Episode 6.
I thought, yeah, maybe. Yeah, and we're going to have Sergio on to talk about actually criminal justice, because in addition to being a just, like, tour de force writer, he's also a public defendant. Him and his wife are. So somehow they fit in the time to do all of this shit. It makes me feel like an asshole. But
I don't know. I can't write and, like, go to the grocery store in the same day. Like, I got to pick one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we have drugs for that now. But anyway.
Or an app, at least.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of struck me, because I really feel like they're doing a bad job at it. And they're doing a great job at making a shit ton of money on other stuff.
Well, I mean,
keep doing that. Make some cookbooks. That's great.
They survive on their tentpole books, right? They publish. I have no idea what the numbers are. I'm making these up, but let's say they publish, 15 books a month, right? Mm-hmm. They only need one of those books a year to hit.
That's
to
their
pay
business
for the
model.
other one, and they're just guessing. Mm-hmm. Like, you put in, obviously the quality of the work matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of good stuff written that people don't read or never find out about. It's what becomes, what's the biggest book now? Well, probably Michelle Obama's Becoming, but not that one. That's a bad example. I don't know. Pick your Dan Brown, though. Like, your Dan Brown Da Vinci Code. Like, why is that an international bestseller, you know, it's a bit luck. He's really good at what he does.
Sure, yeah.
You know, if that's your cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I'm not making any judgments on Dan Brown's work.
There's a whole lecture making judgments on Dan Brown. What is that one called? Anthony Doors, that's his name, right? There's this. Have you ever heard of this? There's this this thing that's like it's on some random cloud app. Like, you know, I don't even know if it's like iTunes. I have no fucking clue. But he just breaks down the first page of the Da Vinci Code. It's hilarious. Like, you know, just kind of like pointing out like, oh, here's simultaneous action. This doesn't work. This is shitty writing. It's pretty funny. But I mean, I'm not knocking that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah, and
other people are writing.
People have read that book. So.
Yeah. What he does, what he's doing, he's clearly great at.
Yeah.
And I don't care. And I think that big publishers should continue to publish that stuff.
Well,
they should
that's
just stop meddling in literary fiction as much unless they're going to start putting their weight behind it, because that's the problem. They're taking on authors. One of those 15 literary books, let's say, I don't like, you know, we don't know the numbers. One of them is going to pick up a little bit. Then they're going to throw some publicity weight behind it. Everyone else is mid-listed or whatever, and then you're fucked. You know, and it's like at that point, what's the difference between that and being published with a indie press or something like that? You know?
And I think also what you're seeing is, you know, because power has been consolidated so much at the top, it's kind of become, and the means of distribution, the means of creation have become so democratized. You're starting to see all of these little, you know, presses pop up. I think you would find
like music
more, and music. Right?
I always say that too. But
yeah, music,
like
and books are very, you know, similar in terms of business. Dynamics or business, whatever.
I just feel like literature is just like a little behind the curve because of how long it takes to consume a book, and you know, to start a press feels like a little more involved than like anyone can kind of create their own music studio in their basement and kind of like put out an album. You know, in a little bit. You know?
I mean, I kind of feel like we're making mixtapes down in the basement sometimes with Mason Jar. Like, we're good at it, but like I feel like we're just making mixtapes in the basement sometimes. Like
with the books themselves, or kind of the whole recipe kind of thing.
I say this all the time. I'm like, man, I'm so glad no one knows we're faking this so much. Like, and it's working. It really is. But like,
at least you're not wearing a suit and tie while you're doing it like the other people are.
Yeah, I mean, but I was not endowed with any great knowledge of how to publish a book, right? Like, I'm just a moron figuring this out as I go. Yeah. And I feel like that's most people, if we're like willing to admit it to ourselves. I don't know. I feel like a kid playing dress up all the time, but that's just me in life.
But you know good books.
I do,
and that's the point. That's the important part. You know,
so taste and content are always going to be king, right? When we publish a book, I know we're going to sell that book because it's really well written, and all I have to do is not fuck that up.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. Something else I'm curious about is, what do you guys do anything around Baltimore? Because we were talking earlier before we got on the air, so to speak, just about getting involved in our community and how we want, you know, who cares if we know about publishing? We'll figure that out as we go. But we're kind of really interested in seeing, like, how can we get more people involved in what we're doing? Both on a practical level, like literally, like, because we have all these artists coming on board and, like, making illustrations for our website and, like, you know, all these contributors and whatnot. And also just, like, kind of spreading the idea of our reading series of, like, you know, just how do we get people in a proverbial room to start caring about what we're doing and start caring about critical thinking and literature in the way that we do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you guys are doing better at that than we are. Like, Mason Jar.
The reading series, sure. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, that's definitely been great. We just started the whole press, but I mean, you guys have been doing this longer than we have, you know?
Yeah. Well, we've been doing the press, I guess, longer, but the question of how do we connect with community is one that I do think about a lot, and I haven't totally wrapped my head around how to do it yet.
But you guys were involved with Writers and Words over there for a little bit, right?
Yeah. So Mike and Michelle Juno started it. Well, Michelle started it, and Mike was a quick follower, I think.
Michelle's the one, she's the one who came and read, and God damn it, I'm blanking on the book that I just heard the name of.
Notes from my phone?
From my phone,
Mason Jar Press, 2015.
I loved her reading, by the way, yeah. I just smoked too much weed. That's the only problem.
We had to convince her that was a book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was literally notes from her phone that she just wrote, like, while in, like, she wrote a memoir accidentally while in line at the grocery store.
I feel like there's a risk. I don't know if this is what she was thinking. This is what she was thinking. I feel like when you have something like that, you're like, shit, am I doing something that's just like super millennial? And like, is this like too like
it's totally
Philistine-ish, like, but like, fuck it. Like, it was great,
Yeah, I mean,
some people just suck at it. Some people are better at it,
And like, I think that's a little bit of like, the puritanical work ethic just being placed on things like, well, if you work on it really hard, that makes it good. And if you didn't work on it really hard, that means it's bad. And that's like not true. Like, you could write something in 20 minutes and have it be like on fire, or you could spend 20 years writing something and it could be shit. Like, the amount of time you spend on something does not necessarily mean how good it is.
There's so many other factors like temperament and like, all that stuff
and
that plays in.
To be fair, like, we took the notes from the phone and there was editing and there was light editing. We didn't want to, destroy the concept of it, that it was literally just stuff she wrote while in line at the grocery store or whatever. But we did some light editing. We reorganized to give it more of a narrative arc and stuff. So light touches on that one. But so there was more work than just, I wrote this while I was at a stoplight.
Just transferring it from phone to...
But Michelle's just
a Word document
good writer, right? She can't help but write good notes. Like, her grocery list sounds like a poem. Like, that's because she's a good writer. Like, so you don't have to do much there.
Broccoli florets.
Broccoli florets. And that next to, like, tissues. Like, kind of tells a story in and of itself, right?
Sure, yeah.
Whether that story's interesting, I don't know. It was interesting to us.
Yeah. So you guys were involved with their reading series.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah, Writers and Words. So we did that for a number of years. I stepped out. It's still going. Michelle's still running that with.
Were you guys helping to host, or like helping bring people there, or just like setting stuff up, or?
I think So the very first one, when it wasn't a series, right? It was just a reading. I hosted it.
Oh wow.
Michelle just needed a host, and she asked me to host.
I need to pause you right there. I don't know if our lovely producer Katie could hear this, but I tell her about the Baltimore accent because I'm from Baltimore too. And you said host.
Oh.
Do you know about that?
Well, I do, but here's the scary thing.
Yeah.
I'm not from Baltimore.
Oh, you're not, but you definitely picked it up a little bit.
I'm from Philly.
Well, there might be a little bit of crossover.
Well, I'm from Philly, South Jersey.
Interesting.
But I went to school on the Eastern Shore here in Maryland for undergrad. I went to grad school here in Baltimore, and now I've been living here for 8 years.
Okay, 8 years is long enough. Yeah.
I'd probably say, although I get it sometimes I say home.
Yep.
Home.
That's the one.
And that's also Jersey too.
Yeah, right. I guess it's more of like that section. Anyway, continue.
But I had to point that out. I tell my wife all the time I don't have an accent, so but she's from Australia, so she really has an accent. Oh,
I see.
Yeah. But the reading series, so I hosted for for the first one, and then I think I helped clean up chairs once, and then it was like, hey, do you want to come to the next meeting and help us figure out? So we were doing figuring out who
was that an AA joke, by the way?
No,
because that's what it sounded like.
It was a different meeting.
That literally is like, I'm on commitment. I'm gonna go help fold chairs out here.
Yeah, no. And then I started helping out, figuring out like, okay, who's the February list, is this person said in something, do we want to have them sometime and all that. So became more heavily involved in actually planning the reading series, because believe it or not, reading series you don't just show up and do. There's meetings involved, and I became an artist to like not do meetings and stuff. So I really misjudged this.
It's art. I want to think it's like a product of our era, but I don't know. Everyone says that like Dickens had to promote his shit too, so who knows.
It's true, and I think like there's a lot of great artists out there who don't have the follow through to actually get their stuff out there.
You're looking at one of them.
I mean,
without this lady sitting to my left, I would be completely fucked and writing into a void in my parents' basement, masturbating too much, and smoking too much weed and eating a lot of Oreos, probably just doing all the things my dad would have done if he was a piece of shit, but he's not.
All right. Well, at least you're out of the basement.
He's basically, that was a euphemism for, it seems like you've crawled out. And now what will you do?
Brian looks very nice.
Just haven't shaved for a few days.
He looks
That's
like
it.
a nice guy.
Yeah. But no. Hey, I'm wearing clothes that my mom bought me for the holidays.
There you go.
So
well, it looks nice.
I'm kind of getting.
Eye.
I'm a pupil of of rich folk who have taken me under their wing, I guess.
I need to find rich folk.
Yeah.
No, I feel like low class person. I feel like I read recently that people can tell whether you're poor or rich just from looking at your face. Like the study that they recently done. I think I definitely have a poor face. Like people could just smell it on me. Like I went to the store to get my wife's like Christmas present, and I just could not get helped. I was in like the jewelry store, and everyone was like, "Mm-mm."
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was like I think I just look like a poor person, which
Classist
I mean it's
piece of
fine.
shit.
Like I watch wrestling. I like.
That's great.
Yeah, so
were you the one who said wrestling is like the modern form of Shakespeare?
it is.
You were the one who said that because okay.
And I have to give credit to Anthony Mall, who hosts our podcast. He and I talk about this a lot, so it's his theory is more than it is mine. But yeah, he has a memoir out of step. It's really good. People.
Oh, nice. With who?
Ohio State University Press.
Nice.
He won their contest.
Oh, cool.
And his memoir is really cool. Yeah, it's much his theory is mine, but yeah, no, they perform in the round. It's like lowbrow because like Shakespeare's was lowbrow like comedy for the most part.
Yeah, there was the pit crowd. The pit crowd was like they're just
people,
jeering
right?
at them the whole time. They're like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, yeah, and like now it's a struggle to get like high schoolers to read it.
Men dressed like women and stuff, like you know,
which happens in wrestling. There's costumes. Yeah, I think. But I'm sure wrestlers had a codpiece at some point.
Oh yeah. Now we celebrate it.
Yeah,
I mean jockstrap codpiece. What's the difference?
Right, like we're gonna do like the career of Triple H is gonna be like a book that high schoolers dread reading in like 200 years or whatever. Like I can't believe I have to read the pedigree, the story of Triple H
transcribed.
This is just like so highbrow, falutin. I can't stand it.
Man, maybe that says something about us.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like now everyone back then in like Elizabethan times were like, why the fuck? They if they time traveled, they'd be like, why the fuck are you reading this shit?
Yeah,
like we had some dude out here that was actually writing some shit. You know?
Yeah, you got to mess
we
with
got to
Chaucer.
We got to get him in contact with Rax, who just read her latest book of poems is called The People's Elbow.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
You had me at The People's Elbow.
Yeah, and I confronted her about where was Stone Cold Steve Austin in your poems. I was very upset because he was my man when I was growing up.
Oh,
I was never really a huge wrestling fan.
Yeah, but like 1998, everyone had some idea of what wrestling
exactly.
was. Right?
Exactly. That was it bigger back in the late 90s or something?
It was. I can do the whole history of wrestling if you want. But
absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
And I can juxtapose it with Kobe Bryant's career to see when we...
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm starting off in like the 50s. No, but wrestling was very regional. And then there was one person by the name of Vincent K. McMahon who had this idea to make it national. So he owned the New York territory, which was WWF. I think it was WWF. 3 W's and an F at one point. I'm seriously going to do the whole history of wrestling, by the way. Yeah. You could just do interlude music and cut to the end now.
Yeah, sure. We can do whatever we want with this, so just go with it. Yeah. Like, it's fun.
And then he made it national in part because of Andre the Giant was a national draw, so that made it more national. And then, of course, Hulk
Lil
Hogan.
Wayne references Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
And,
rappers love wrestling.
On One with Drake and DJ Khaled and everything back. Yeah.
A lot of Ric Flair references, too.
Yeah.
In them, a lot of woos.
Yeah.
I think in rap, too.
Yeah,
rappers like wrestling. Yeah. Wale had a whole thing about wrestling.
What? DC rap. DC, yeah.
And where was I? Oh, we were talking about the history of wrestling. Yeah.
Andre the Giant.
So then there was a startup wrestling on the Turner Network called WCW, which was going against WWF. And then
when are we right now?
This is like, so let me talk about the dark period of wrestling, which was like early 90s.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the dark period of wrestling when you had...
Kobe Bryant is still in middle school at this point, by the way.
Is he back stateside?
Wait. No, early 90s, like 8th, 9th grade, depending on when we're talking about. But yeah.
Was he back stateside? Was he in Philly yet?
I don't know. Yeah, he grew up in Italy, so he speaks fluent Italian, by the way.
Yeah, he went to high school in Philly.
This just turned into a wrestling / Kobe Bryant fanboy podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Books are done. If you came to hear about books and literature, turn it off now.
We just inadvertently proved that we're fucked.
Yeah.
As an industry.
Yeah. No, we can't even talk about books for an entire hour. No, we're going to talk about wrestling. Yeah, so the early 90s wrestling was basically everyone's gimmick was like, I have a job. So like my whole
Like I'm the cable guy.
yes,
the cable guy wrestler.
like I'm a garbage man. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm a cop, and it's like, oh, I don't think this.
It's like the YMCA. It's like the YMCA of wrestling.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy dressed as like a Native American, even though he wasn't Native American. So basically, that's the YMCA, right? We had a construction worker.
We got all our bases covered.
Yeah. Shawn Michaels was wearing a lot of leather. Yeah. So he's basically what was he, a biker? I don't know what that guy in the YMCA was.
A meth head, probably.
Meth head, yeah. He's basically the meth head. So that was like the dark period where it was like everyone just has a job. And then WCW started up, which was owned by Ted Turner and like Turner Broadcasting.
These are names I know that I did not know were affiliated with with wrestling. You know?
Yeah, and what WCW started doing was throwing money at all the big people from WWF at that time to bring them over to WCW.
So we're getting out of the dark ages, or we're still in the dark ages?
So this is like where it starts to turn over. So they're starting to throw a lot of money at the WWF guys, and they start getting them all. So WWF doesn't really have anyone of like note because they've all been bought out. But it starts what's known as the Monday Night Wars. Can't believe
competing with Monday Night Football.
Well, it was so Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
WWF Monday Night Raw was on Monday nights, and Nitro for WCW was on Monday.
And Nitro, was that the name of the first N64 game? Wrestling?
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, Nitro, right?
I'm sure.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that sounds probably.
That was like my
right.
favorite game that I played with my cousin in Jersey.
And then so that started the Monday Night Raw Wars, and then they started competing. And when they started doing that, they started getting more and more risque. And the more and more, because it used to be for like little kids, right? And then it started becoming more and more risque and more for adults. And that's when they hit the peak of like wrestling power, was like 98. And that's when, so eventually WWF.
Oh, 1998. I think we're in the second or third year of Kobe Bryant's career right now.
Yeah.
So he's
any titles yet?
He's like a starter at this point. No, they won their first in 2000. Shaq came on, I think, around in 1998. So yeah,
okay.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. How do you feel? So you're like a big Kobe fanboy.
I was, and so Kobe was my man, and now Steph Curry's my man. Well, I loved Steph since he was in Davidson. By the way, not a bandwagon fan. Knew he was going to be a fucking Hall of Famer.
Steph's unimpeachable.
He's
and a nice guy.
Yeah,
from all accounts,
he's great.
God, I say
he's
that,
great.
And then like someone listens to this later, and we find out he's a terrible person.
Well,
I'm not saying that's happening.
He did recently. I don't know if you heard about this. He recently said that the moon landing was faked. And then he said it was a joke. We don't know if he really, because that's like Kyrie Irving said the Earth was flat and like kind of held to it for a bit and then retracted it and said like, oh, that was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like whatever. He can shoot really well. He can dribble really well. He can pass really well. He's got the greatest vision since Magic Johnson. I'll give him a pass. On faking the moon landing.
If his greatest sin is that he thinks the moon landing was
not
fake,
come on.
I can live with it.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
He's not killing people.
Have you ever seen his pregame warm-ups?
I know. Shooting from behind the sideline.
Yeah,
just like
he
in
does
the
it from like the tunnel.
Yeah, the tunnel.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And he hits it like half the time.
So what? He thinks the moon landing was faked.
But, what I found was really interesting. Let's bring this back to like a modicum of critical thinking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I didn't understand how everyone freaked out about that. Like, they were like, oh my God, he thought it was faked. I mean, we got conspiracy theorists for everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like accepted if you think 9/11 was an inside job. Almost. Like, not really. Yeah. But like, it's like people aren't going to go, something.
Sure. Most people, a lot of people think JFK.
Yeah, same thing. Right.
All kinds of things.
And like everyone freaks out about that. But like no one freaks out that like he thinks Jesus Christ is his Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
And like half the population doesn't think that's true. But that's fine. We accept that. It's kind of weird. It seems like, I don't know.
No,
it seems a little fishy to me.
Yeah,
it's what do we decide that it's okay to believe in some, what is like probably not true,
Yeah, religion gets a pass on conspiracy theories.
It does, and it's not considered it's
just
accepted.
Well, I forget what
into the zeitgeist, rolling zeitgeist.
This is just something I picked up in the ether. It's a quote, and I can't remember who said it or whatever. Like, but the difference between a cult and a religion is a couple hundred years.
Yeah,
like that's. I think that's kind of true a little bit. Like, Christianity was considered a cult at first. Mm-hmm. Whether you believe it or, whether it is true or not, like, it was considered a cult at first.
Oh, so. Yeah. They're always going to knock the Jews until, So, yeah.
Anyway. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories. Like, have you guys spent any time on Reddit?
We should talk about, let me just prelude that with saying that, we were talking earlier about how Katie is getting involved on Reddit to try and, promote. And it's like somewhat of a cesspool, but I honestly think it is the most honest forum maybe on the planet Earth. Possibly.
Honest is an interesting question. So,
in terms of humanity.
Right.
I'm going to
the good and the bad, you mean?
Everything. Yeah. Exactly.
Because
you're going to see, you are not going to see that kind of unfiltered dialogue or, simulacrum of dialogue, whatever goes on Reddit,
I used to spend a lot of time on 4chan, which is Reddit times 1,000 kind of thing, where it's all anonymous.
I've never heard of this. 4chan.
Oh, you don't know about 4chan?
No.
Most of your favorite things on the internet and most horrible things on the internet have started on 4chan.
Is this another iteration of E-Bombs World or something? Because that's where I saw things like Mr. Hands and shit that. You know what I mean?
Funny story about Mr. Hands.
We'll refrain from No, we can keep it, but we're going to refrain from describing it.
No, I kind of had to explain to my mom what that was over Christmas. So
in euphemistic terms somehow.
No, you
just went. You said this. I was all right.
In Washington or Oregon, some things aren't illegal.
I think it was Washington.
Okay.
I think it was Washington.
In Washington, some things aren't illegal.
Yeah. And some people take advantage of those things.
Well,
Bestiality. Anyway, okay.
No, but so 4chan, people are terrible on there. And I'm like, oh, is that, if you can be completely anonymous, which is what 4chan is about, is that the most honest thing?
Probably.
If I'm never going to get in trouble for what I just said.
Probably.
Or is it?
Or are you going to start? Are you going to go farther?
Yeah. Or are you going to
what you
become are you going for shock factor?
Yeah.
Right? Do you have to one up yourself every time? And it's I don't actually believe this, but I'm going to say it just to
yes.
elicit response, which is kind of what we are as a society now. I don't believe half the shit people say on the internet. I think it's just to get a response.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think that's clear.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it's kind of seeped into everything else in culture, including politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just
that's why Donald Trump is our president.
Which brings me back to the Monday Night Wars. So they having to re-up themselves.
He's been on wrestling before. He's in
the WWE Hall of Fame.
This is apropos. That's not some frivolous transition.
By the way, if by some miracle he hears this, you took the worst stunner in the history of stunners. And there's been a lot of bad stunners taken. Donald Trump. There's going to be 6 people who get that. And they're going to be yeah, good one.
Is that a segment of
Stone Cold Stunner
or something? Or
the Stone Cold Stunner?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Stone Cold stunned Donald Trump. And he looked like I don't even know. It was like a fish on the dock that was also getting electrocuted. He oversold it. But also didn't take it very well. It's bad. Look it up on YouTube, people.
Yeah, he doesn't take many things very well.
No.
He doesn't take life very well, to be quite frank. Okay, let's talk about ICP, Insane Clown Posse.
Which is actually a good transition from wrestling.
I think so, too. I think it's taking it up a notch a little bit.
Yeah, they have their own wrestling
scale.
Federation, ICP. Yeah, there's an Insane Clown Posse wrestling, federation.
Interesting.
They get a lot of the old heads, too, from WWE's heyday to wrestle for them. Yeah. But okay, so I was telling Katie and Brian via email that I think this is my little conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. I think Insane Clown Posse might actually be geniuses pretending to be dumb.
Mm. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, they've sold millions of records. They have the Gathering, which is the big festival every year for juggalos and juggalettes. Mm-hmm. And they're millionaires. They've made movies and stuff too, but they're millionaires. They kind of run a little small media empire, and they've done it with no radio play, no press.
Wow.
Major publications will not talk about Insane Clown Posse unless it's in the negative. Mm-hmm. And they've acquired they've built all this by basically word of mouth. And creating a small following that has grown.
Wow.
I don't think you can be dumb and do that.
No. Unless you're insanely lucky.
And that's a possibility.
It's
a possibility.
But I don't know if I believe in coincidences like that. No. So Katie's best friend down in Arkansas in Little Rock, Mariah, her brother, who he's a juggalo.
Whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you?
No. God, no. Okay. I would never.
Yeah. Do you like their music?
No, it's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible music.
So how did you? But you're enamored by them in a certain way.
Yeah.
I can understand. I'm enamored by addiction.
Yeah.
I don't want to be addicted to drugs. But I'm enamored by it. Yes.
I love serial killers.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not a big fan of their work, but I think they're fascinating. Yeah. Like, I want to know everything there is to know about a serial killer.
See, he understands. Like, when I'm sitting there watching like different angles of 9/11 hit shots, and it's like, why are you enveloping yourself in this darkness?
Yeah.
You gotta sometimes. You gotta understand. You gotta try and understand what could bring someone to do something like this,
Right? And there's always that point where it's like, oh, yeah, no, I can't. Like, that's not me. Mm-hmm. And that's so weird because I want, like...
It's for the better.
Oh, it's for the better. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. But it's like, you can understand to a certain point, and then there's that threshold where it's like, no, I ain't about this. Like, I can't figure it out why you would do this.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about being an Insane Clown Posse fan, not a serial killer now.
Right.
Like, I can't understand why you would go to the I want a major publication to pay me to go to the gathering. Like, I don't want to spend money on it.
Oh, like a David Foster Wallace sort of commissioning where you're like going to the Maine Lobster Festival.
Exactly. Right. Like, someone paid me to go there and I'll write about it.
Yeah, they think you're going to write some like glowing review of ICP, but it's going to be just very objective and
Yeah, no, I'm just going to like gonzo journalism.
Yeah, gonzo journalism.
Shit out of that.
We talked about that, I think, on our first episode, some gonzo journalism. Yeah. We were talking about the beats and how he was like the only good one, but...
So, Insane Clown Posse, I had something... Oh, here's also why I think they're geniuses. Are you guys familiar with their music at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
I mean, I think Katie might have shown me like one song. It might not have even been her.
Fon, Miracle.
Oof.
Miracle.
You showed me.
Magnets. How the fuck do those work? So there's also...
That is it!
Yeah, magnets.
You showed me the video!
There's now scientists who go to like the gathering or like outside Insane Clown Posse concerts to show the juggalos how magnets work.
Uh-huh.
Like, they just set up a booth to show
I almost respect them less.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
It's like on the juggalos.
Not even that. It's like you do realize like these people don't want to be taught how magnets work.
Or they know how magnets fucking work, and they're fucking trolling you.
Well, the band is.
Yeah.
Right. But the juggalos themselves, like, they're like, yeah, man. How do those work?
Like, that is a miracle. Shit.
That's
long-ass giraffes.
That's the Illuminati. But yeah, anyway.
Okay, so they have their CDs, right? Like the Dark Carnival. Are you familiar with the Dark Carnival?
No.
The Dark Carnival is a metaphor.
Want to be.
Yeah. The Dark Carnival is a metaphor, and the metaphor is basically for life. But they would have these, and I'm going to blank on this term, but they would have these cards. I think they were called the Joker cards. Yeah, they're the Joker cards.
Okay.
So they would have regular albums, but then every once in a while, one of their albums would be a Joker card, which meant it was a special album that was going to reveal more about Insane Clown Posse, the Dark Carnival, and life itself.
Oh, no.
So they said, and I think it was the 7th Joker card.
Seven? So their Joker cards are an interspersed album.
Yeah. Not all the albums are Joker cards.
How many albums? If they have 7 of those, how many albums do they have?
I literally don't listen to their music, so I don't know.
That is unbelievable.
But they had
these people are just. I mean,
they record. They do everything out of like their house. Basically,
they're prolific.
Yeah. They have a studio, like a home studio, that they record everything.
Do you think they wear their clown stuff like while they're in their studio?
I think if they're gonna be in the media, like they're gonna wear their clown makeup and stuff. Yeah.
Gotta keep it real.
Yeah. So they said on the 7th Joker card, the truth will be revealed. And do you know what the 7th Joker card was?
Huh?
Christian. It was all about Christianity. So they said being in the Insane Clown Posse was actually all about Christianity the entire time.
Oh my God, that is a scandal.
They're fucking geniuses. I think they're brilliant, like Andy Kaufman level, hilarious geniuses. No one else believes me on this, and that's totally okay. You guys both have skeptical looks on your faces right now.
I thought my eyebrows were raised in deep interest, but anyway.
So I've decided, they know exactly what they're doing. They're actually probably really smart guys, and I love them like I love serial killers.
Do you know what Did you listen to it, the seventh one? The seventh Joker?
I've
No?
listened to 2 songs by
So
Insane
you don't
Clown
know
Posse.
what their reasoning was, like how they revealed it or anything like that? I now have to listen to this.
Yeah, there was a song that
If I can make it
said it
through.
was all about Christianity, like
Wow.
that Jesus is the answer.
Wow. So are they religious?
I don't know that they're anything, but they're also really big fans of wrestling and like old school
Here it
wrestling.
is.
And old school wrestling.
This is literature, everyone.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back.
We're bringing it back. This is like an MFA story where it's like we have the first paragraph, we break to the past, and then we're coming back, It's
That's
just
all
like-
my stories. Yeah. Subscribe to every story I ever wrote.
The seventh Joker card.
Yeah.
my
So
God.
Insane Clown Posse, secretly geniuses.
Yeah.
That's really all I have to say.
So
about
where
that.
are they now? That was released when? The seventh Joker was
Oh, mid-aughts, I think. Like-
okay. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
very
They're still
long
putting out
time.
music. They're still doing tours. They have their own label that they created like a genre of music. So there's like other artists who do like Insane Clown Posse type music that they put out under their like Insane Clown. I think it's Hatchet Man Records is the name of their thing. So like they created a whole subgenre that they're getting all the money
So
for.
they are-
and
they are-
have a
they are
dedicated
serial-
base who buy all those albums
They are serial killers. Hatchet Man Records.
of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and culture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, how would the literary community emulate? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. How would the literary? My hand is over my eyes. How would the literary community emulate Insane Clown Posse's record label that's called Hatchet Man Jobs?
Brian, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked. I think we should all emulate the Insane Clown Posse. They control all the means of distribution for their work.
Which is great. I will admit that is great.
They created like a little monopoly for their very small genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
Like become hyper specific and then control all of that.
You know what? It's very true. It's literally what I was saying about how indie presses need to start taking over literary fiction, nonfiction, poetry, all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, the genre is a little different.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, a little. Not everything.
A little. I mean, you did just equate ICP to Shakespeare, so maybe not that different.
Well, to be fair, I equated Shakespeare to wrestling, and I equated wrestling to
Shakespeare.
to Insane
Shakespeare.
Clown Posse.
Yeah,
So by
right,
the
right, yeah.
transitive,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That old.
Yeah.
The transitive property never fails. Does
Basically,
it?
violent. Was it Violent J and what are their names? Violent.
Who?
The
Who's?
Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, well, how the fuck would I know? You're the
Yeah, but I'm into my third middling beer.
Let's look. Are we looking at their members or something?
There's 2. Yeah, it's
Insane
Violent J.
Clown Posse. My IP address is forever going to be
Violent J. And
corrupted by this search. I am absolutely shocked by what I'm looking at right now.
Whoop whoop.
Their website, I cannot describe it. You have to go see it for yourself. Big
they
ballas. Christmas at our house. Lots of
35
just
albums.
like gang signs. They got bling. I mean, they're kind of like rappers, like,
Oh, they're rappers.
but like with clown faces on. Okay, here, let's see. Let's go back and let's do a Wikipedia thing real quick. You were trying to, Violent J.
Violent J.
They're an American hip hop duo.
Yeah.
I always thought of them as like,
Supernatural and horror themed lyrics. Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope. How could I forget Shaggy 2 Dope? Where
and
was I?
it's just those two.
Yeah. It's a posse of 2.
I remember seeing a song, but I did not realize that this was like hip hop. Like I thought it was like some sort of like metal thing going on.
Well, they're like horror, so it's like horror themed hip hop.
Horror themed hip hop. Okay,
So like
yeah.
metal's.
Every day is Halloween.
Yes.
Okay.
Whoop whoop. Do you know
Right.
whoop whoop?
No.
Do you know why I'm whoop whooping? That's how one juggalo calls to another. Whoop whoop.
I always thought like,
And then you go whoop whoop. No, ready? Let's try.
Okay.
Whoop whoop. Whoop whoop. See? Now we're
so what do we do after that?
family. Then you chant family.
Family.
Yeah, family.
I think we just got initiated.
Yeah, that's being a juggalo. That's basically it. And
Holy
they drink
shit!
Faygo.
That's like I'm gonna stick to Outcast when they see the cops. They're like, hootie who? Oh my god! I don't know. I feel like I just took a drug that I've never taken before.
Yeah. Wait until you're like, because I can see you like a week from now, like into the 8th album, like, you know, it's all starting to kind of make sense here. Like, I think I'm a juggalo.
Oh my god, Katie would divorce me. Okay, all right. How the fuck do we tie this back into like what we actually do with our lives?
I don't know. I think how they did it was they tapped into something that people love, right? And love, like, if you find something that people love and you put it out into the world, like, those people are going to find it, right? Like, if you're really into Insane Clown Posse kind of music, there's not a lot of avenues, so you're going to look for that thing, and then you're going to find it. So, again, I think it comes back to, like, put out good content that you love.
So here's my question, though, because we were talking about how the literary industry is kind of like emulating the music industry, like indie labels that started with music. I mean, you had the presses like Coffee House and, you know, $2 radio, shit like that, but they were few and far between compared to like as soon as Jay-Z's like, I'm gonna start The Rock, then Kanye's like on there and he's like, fuck it, now I'm gonna start my own, and then everyone's doing their own. That happens so fast. How do you get people to love a brand of literature?
Yeah,
that just feels so much harder, and like,
and also be diverse, right?
There's like a temporal. It's like prohibitively like time based. Like, you know, it's like you got to read a whole book and then decide, okay, I'm into this author,
right?
You know, or this press.
Yeah. Do you find yourself into presses?
I do.
Yeah.
Coffee House.
I do too. Yeah.
Coffee House I'm really into.
Where it's like, oh yeah, if
they
they're
put
putting
out
something, I want to read it.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you my two favorite books that came out last year were Steve in Florida and In the Distance. Mm-hmm. Fucking phenomenal. I mean,
and
like
both by Coffee,
but both Coffee House Press.
Both Coffee
House.
House.
Gabe Habashan and Hernan Diaz. I mean, they're great. But yeah, so I guess they did it.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. Coffee House has been around since like what, the 80s? I think maybe the 90s. It's been a while. Yeah, it's surprising. It's been a while. We'll have to fact check that. I'm completely wrong, but but yeah, I don't know. It's like, you know, other than that, like India, it just takes. I was at a meeting, a real estate meeting the other day, because my dad is like looking to like buy some property or something, and like, you know, and these people were like asking me about what I was doing with my life, and so I tell them, you know, oh, like, you know, we're starting our own press and shit like that, you know, and they're like, oh, people still read books. And I was like, what the fuck?
I feel like we're selling to like artists, kind of just selling to other artists sometimes. It's like,
I definitely feel like we're in an echo chamber sometimes.
Yeah, like if you really like what we're doing, you're probably doing this yourself. Like,
and I think that needs to be. Those like shackles need to be busted, you know?
Yeah. No, that's something I totally agree with. Like, I don't want to take money
because people want to read.
Artists,
people want to read. Like, there's no technology that's going to supplant literature. It's not possible. I mean, until we get like direct like neuronal like transmissions and like completely just subvert the human experience. You know, right? But I mean, we're a long way from that. I mean,
like weeks.
At least. At least.
Jeff Bezos is working on it.
Yeah, he is. Actually, no. I could say some things about that, but we'll save that for another day. But yeah, no, I mean, you can't teach people empathy and existential understanding and critical thinking in any way except for literature. You can't. Math is the only other way I can think of. Math is like a logical paradigm where it's like, okay, you can start to understand things pretty deeply, you know?
Yeah.
But literature is the only other way that I know.
Well,
math and science, I should say.
Yeah, but math and science is like very exact, right?
Yeah,
like there is a
which is not human,
wrong answer.
Which is not human condition.
Which is not human condition, right?
Emotions are not rational.
Covers all the other things. Like math and science have this is right, this is wrong. We can prove
it. Literature, you have to be logical and emotional because you can't write a book and not be logical. You have to have.
Yeah, no, you can't just
connect
jump
the
around
dots.
and, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and then you're out of it emotionally because it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I think they're actually probably more logical than necessarily emotional if that makes sense. Like, let's take you on this journey and you'll have the emotions as we go kind of thing. But if you don't have the tent poles of like the story structure down, that emotion's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's unhinged.
Yeah.
It's completely just
Wait, no,
unaccompanied.
I just described poetry. Never mind. Yeah. That's just poetry, right?
That's amazing. I love that he just said that. Katie knows that I kind of joke. I half joke about how poetry's bullshit.
It's totally bullshit. I
so
love it. It's my favorite.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like there are poems that I love. But like I do feel like poetry is, because it's such a short form, that's a doorway for charlatans. Because it's like, oh, I don't have to try. Like subconsciously, they're like, oh, I don't have to try as hard because I don't have to write something that's like.
Are you talking about writers or readers?
Right. Well, both, but
Both?
but mainly writers. I'm talking about mainly writers. Like I just feel like there's so much shit out there. It's
There's shit for everything.
And I fully admit that the proportion of shit in poetry equals the proportion of shit in fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah.
But like for some reason, it's just, and I could be completely biased, but it's just so much more glaring to me when I read, because poetry is like, you're really gonna stand there and talk in that voice.
Oh,
and like act like I'm like feeling something right
poet
now.
Voice? You're talking about poet voice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't write a poem.
Yeah.
I can't write a poem to save my life. Like I can write a short story, but I can't write a poem.
Sure.
Like it's just not in my DNA. I don't know how you do it.
Is it like a rhythm thing, or is it like a?
No, I don't. I don't understand. Like I like poetry, and I like reading poetry, but I don't necessarily understand what would make something a poem.
A poem.
It's like pornography, I guess.
Can
like
I tell you something that
when you see it?
piggybacks off what you just said?
Yeah.
I was invited to NYC Poe Fest, and I don't even write poetry, and I literally took prose, like kind of from my novel and like other stuff, and I just broke it into lines, and I get up there and I just read it, and everyone's just like golf clapping afterwards. I'm just like, it was so strange. Okay, so yeah, let's wrap this up. What else can we say? What else? Is there anything else? Should we just stop? I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think
we're good.
we talked wrestling. We talked Insane Clown Posse.
We got everything.
I got everything I needed to talk about out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's it for today's episode. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and review on whichever platform you're listening. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Animal Riot Press, or Facebook and Instagram under the same name, or through our website, animalriotpress.com. This has been the 6th episode of the Animal Riot Podcast with your host, Brian Birnbaum, and featuring Ian Anderson of Mason Jar Press. Transcripts for our deaf and hard of hearing animals are provided by Jonathan Kay, and we are produced by me, Katie Rainey. See you later, you filthy animals.
Yes, sir, it's the burn. Bombing on y'all and getting gully as the fern. I don't know much about